I'm here with Shawn, who was unceremoniously doxxed by the Daily Beast, and we're going to hear a little about his story. So, I think first thing that we were going to talk about is they called him, I guess? They called you, right?
Yeah, they called. Well, first they emailed me. They were sending me messages on Facebook.
When you say they emailed you, who do you mean?
It was all kind of people at first. It was different news outlets, and then one guy in particular, Kevin Paulson, was really like sending me messages. He was more on Twitter, Facebook, the Facebook groups, the pages, any pages I guess that he thought he can find me at. Um, then he called. He left me messages. Did he even message? No, that was after. That was down the line. But in the beginning, he did send me messages and emails. That was his. He just kept hitting me up on
And
social
this is
media,
the
Twitter.
guy and this is the guy from the Daily Beast that eventually published the stuff against you, right?
Yeah, he was the one that published the story. Um,
He
I
got your phone
blocked in the
number.
beginning. I blocked him. So
He got your phone number from Facebook, right?
that's what I assumed because I didn't give it to him, and my ex girlfriend couldn't have gave it to him because she didn't even have my number. So he must have got it either from Facebook. They must have gave him the information. Maybe he contacted them, and he was able to look me up and say, "Hey, this is." Cause my number is on Facebook. Far as like in the settings, like say if like only a Facebook person would have that. Like like a whoever works at Facebook could see your information, that kind of intel, not like a regular person.
Right.
So so he must have gotten that from them. Like they must say, "Hey, can you confirm this guy's info? Or give me this guy's info, whatever the heck they do." And they probably say, "Hey, sure, yeah, this is the guy. Here's his number." So that's how basically he got my number. He called me, left me a message. So I called him back. You can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm trying not
Sure
to
you can hear me.
interrupt you
All right.
because.
Sorry. Yeah, because I'm on an earpiece and I didn't wasn't sure if you could hear me. It got quiet.
Yeah.
He called me back. I called him back. I spoke to him. He asked me questions about. He was trying to get me to ask me about the video. We talked about the video probably for like 5 minutes, right? Not even that long. He basically was wanting to know more about me. He was like, "Oh, what is? I see that you're from New York and stuff like that." And he was just asking me all these questions. And he was like, "I'm doing a story," and I was trying. He thought he was gonna. He thought that he wanted to know. I said, "Well, why this thing's not really a big deal? Why are you guys contacting me? Like, this thing is. What is this about? Like, this is not a big story. It's a video, big deal. Like, what is this about?" And he was like, "Well." He thought he was talking about he was looking for Russian trolls or whatever. And he's like, "Oh, well, obviously you're not a Russian troll." Then he was asking me, "Did I ever work for Russia, or was I
Oh my
connected to Russia
goodness.
some way?" Like he was just going like stuff like that. And then he was confirming details about like my past history and stuff. Having been arrested, and then he said that he spoke to my ex girlfriend. He didn't tell me what she said. He just said he spoke to her. Um,
Mm.
I was like, well, basically, I don't know what she told you, but anything that she tells you, you really can't trust her anyway. And so he asked me to confirm about my domestic case. I mean, some of the details, like he asked me, I wasn't gonna lie, but oh no, I never got it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I, I know I feel like people say, well, you shouldn't have spoke to the guy, should have hung up and whatever, and maybe that was right, but I mean, I don't know what this guy's gonna post, so I have to be able to at least get on record to say or confirm things so he won't go out because I don't know what he was gonna write. For I know he could have wrote, "Oh, this guy is a Russian troll and he's a suicide bomber or something. You know what I'm saying? I had no way to dispute that over the phone, so I figured let me talk to him and confirm or deny some of the things that he wanted to publish.
So one
And
of
I really didn't know about me. I thought he was writing about the video. You know what I'm saying? At
right,
this point, I did. He was writing a story on me. I didn't think. Because I
you
told him, I
didn't
said,
think
I
you were
didn't.
about to get doxxed. One of the
Yeah,
things I wanted to ask you was, did so he called you after, like, he tried to DM you on Twitter and message you on Facebook, and then he called,
yeah. Then he called. Like
and it
he was
totally
trying to
caught you
reach
off
me for a
guard.
week.
I'm sorry.
Huh?
I said, and I'm
What you say?
assuming this totally caught you off guard because you didn't know this guy had your phone number.
Yeah, I didn't know he had. I didn't know he had my phone number. He called me, and then he also emailed me on my banking email account, which is not connected to Facebook. So that was like the real reason why I reached back to him, because I was a little skeptical. I was nervous, and I was like, "Whoa, what the hell?" You know, why? How did this guy get my email address? And I asked him, and he kind of was like laughing it off. I remember I was like, "Yo, I noticed you emailed me from my banking email. How did you get it?" And he was kind of like, he didn't really say much. He was kind of like laughing it off, like, yeah, like, you know what I'm saying, like he did something slick or some shit. And at this point, I didn't know who he was. And like I said, another mistake by me. I probably should have Googled the guy. I didn't realize that after I was off the phone with him, I Googled this guy, and I realized I said, "Oh shit, this guy's a hacker," and he's a reporter. And I looked up Daily Beast, and I noticed Daily Beast was a heavily left wing outlet, and I said, "Oh, this is gonna be bad." And you know, so because I was being contacted by a lot of different places wanted to
And
talk to
that's
me.
before you got doxxed, right?
Yeah, this was before I got
See,
doxxed.
these are
So I
things that
didn't
I don't
even
think
know
I had
who's who.
heard. So I assume my listeners haven't heard this.
Yeah, a lot of people contacted me. I was getting messages all week. I ignored a lot of them because I didn't check, and most of them were going to the page, to the pages like the Watchdog page and the All News page, and I don't check messages on that all the time. Sometimes other admins will, and so I didn't even look at the messages, so I
Right.
wasn't aware of how many people were trying to reach the page. Now, when they were sending messages, they weren't addressing me by name at this point. They were just saying, "We want to reach out to the page to get a comment on the video." They wasn't saying we're looking for Shawn. He was the first person that named me as Shawn. You know, that's the reason why I was so. That's why I reached back out to him directly, because he was the first person really that mentioned my name. He didn't address me as the page. He addressed me as in, "Oh, I know it's you. I know you run the pages." So that tells me that this guy already had Facebook already helped this dude well before he got to talk to me.
Yeah,
That was my understanding.
they admitted it in their article where they doxed you that Facebook gave them your name.
Yeah,
I assume
but the thing,
you know that.
yeah. But the thing is, when I called the day because when he spoke to me that day, he published an article later on that day.
Ooh.
So he spoke to me, the Daily Beast. They already had the article ready to go. They were just waiting to hear from me. And so this article was already set and ready. I guess he was waiting for approvals, maybe get some more details.
Yeah,
They
they
already
were
had me
probably
as the
trying to get more details, but it sounds like all you did was confirm things they already knew. So I think you
yeah,
probably did the best you could have done given the circumstances.
yeah. They had me as the guy before they even spoke to me. And but when he was talking to me, he was talking to me as in, "Oh, we want to know. Can you tell us who posted it?" Like, trying to be. I guess it was more like trying to get a confession from the suspect as the cop. "Oh, we already know you did the crime, but let us try to see if you can confess." That was basically what that was about. Like at that point when they was talking to
Obviously,
me.
it's very, very horrifying that they think that it's their place to basically rat you out to left-wing New York City that, you're a Trump supporter. That's horrifying that they're like invading people's personal space like that. I mean, we do not do that to the left. Maybe we should. I mean, you look at how they're flipping out about Trump saying, like, send her back regarding Ilhan Omar. I mean, he didn't really. Based on his comment, he obviously was talking about Ilhan, but because he said even if they have a functioning government at all, that's how you know he was talking about her, but he didn't name her. And the thing is, they could have done just like without saying details, like I told you before we were recording about how I was like low level doxed, and like what I did was I just let it blow under the radar. But in my case, it wasn't. I mean, they could have just let that go, but they can't let anything go because their whole job is to destroy society. I mean, I don't know if you know about the red green axis of power, but this is something I did a video on. But it's essentially like red is for communism, um, green is for Islam, and they have a goal to work together to overthrow society. Now, the Greens, the Islamists, they intend to take over after the commies overthrow society, which the commies, I don't think they have a real plan on what they want to do after they overthrow society. They just want to overthrow society. They tried this back in the 60s and 70s, and finally the government stepped in and started throwing people in jail. But a lot of those people are now out of jail because they only put them in jail for like 20 years. Like, I don't know if you've heard the name Bill Ayers. He's a friend of Obama's, and he was involved in the communist movement from the 60s and 70s. It was called the Weather Underground. I think it started out, what was it? Started out, I think, Weather Underman. It started out with a different name, and then they changed it to like Weather Underground. It was literally the Democratic Socialists back in the 60s and 70s, and a lot of people don't know about this. And eventually I started doing the research. I probably have enough to put out a video. So, I had started doing the research, and these were like college kids, and they were bombing like police stations and stuff. And
Wow.
yeah, especially in Chicago. So it was real big in New York, Chicago, and San Francisco, which are three of the still communist hubs. I don't think Portland was a big communist hub at the time, but clearly it is now. And they operate under something called the Alinsky Rules for Radicals. And so these are the rules that they're using to overthrow society. Now, one thing people don't know is on the green side, Islam has its own book that a lot of people have heard of, the Rules for Radicals. At least people who like follow, the conservative fight. But on the green side, on the Islamic side, they have something called the Management of Savagery, which is basically what they intend to do after they get the communists to overthrow government. They intend to use this management of savagery to basically take it over and take over the U.S., which is very scary. Very, very scary.
Yeah, that is.
So I don't know how much of this you had heard about, but I don't know if you want to react to what I just said.
No, I've seen. I didn't know much about it, but I've been seeing. I've seen some of the some of that, like people post or talk about a little bit of it. I didn't really pay much attention to it. I'm just starting to really take in some of the stuff like just recently because I wasn't. I'm not. I wasn't really like in. I was. I was. I support Trump and his policy, some of the stuff he do, but as far as politically, like the whole big picture, I never really paid attention that deep into it. So I'm just learning this stuff as people tell me it, like, so this is all pretty much brand new.
That was where I was
Um,
at spring of 2017. I was a Trump supporter, but I didn't, and I had watched like Ann Coulter and Tommy Lahren and stuff, but I didn't go deep and learn about all this communism and
Yeah.
the axis of power. I didn't learn about all of that stuff. What happened was, like I just said, I followed Ann Coulter, and I sat down and went into YouTube one week and I searched Ann Coulter, anything from the past week, and I started watching videos. And video after video was, I'm supposed to speak at Berkeley, but I don't know if I will be able to, and explaining why. And apparently, because there had been a riot when Milo spoke at Berkeley, didn't know who Milo was at the time. Looked up Milo, looked up the riot, started like searching all these from the signs that were at the riot, started searching up these organizations, and like learned about like the hold that communism is starting to take in this country. And I just went down a rabbit hole from there.
Yeah, that's but a lot of that stuff is interesting. Like, it's good to know. It's just good to know.
Yeah, exactly. I think if more people knew what was really going on, it's funny, like I'll talk to total strangers and I'll be like, the communists are trying to take over. And I always get the same response from these, basically normies. Oh, that's not gonna happen. And it's like, do you not pay attention to politics? Like, we have communists in Congress. Like, wake the. Yeah, I just wanna, like, splash some water on their face or something and be like, wake up, wake up, our country's going down the toilet, we need everyone's help taking it back. So, and that actually sort of brings around to what another thing we were discussing before we went onto, I guess I can't say on camera, but onto recording, because neither of us are on camera, but we were talking about AOC and AOC's district a little bit. So I don't know if you wanted to talk a little bit about that. So
Yeah, sure. I mean,
even though I haven't met you in person yet, you also live in New York. And that was actually one of the reasons why I reached out to you, because I was like, oh, there's conservatives in New York. Has anybody reached out to you? Like, at least so you can have like some sort of support and talk to other conservatives. And it's very unfortunate that I was like the only one who did it.
Yeah, you're like the only person that reached out to me. Like on Twitter, some people, they didn't reach out to me, but they let me know that there wasn't that I wasn't the only one in the area. A few other guys. They're not really political though. They're just more like, they're conservative. They support Trump. They're not really like into it like that. They just was letting me know, hey, you're not the only one in New York that is conservative or support Trump. It was more about supporting Trump, because what I did notice, and I don't know, this may be not an unpopular opinion, but there are some people that are Trump supporters, but they're not necessarily conservatives, or maybe even liberals. They could be just in the middle, really diehard Trump supporters. I've noticed there's a large number of those too, and so the one thing that I'm worried about moving forward, because Trump only could serve 2 terms. It's not like he could stay in for like another 20 years.
Right.
So, and my only one criticism of this current administration, as far as what's the plan, maybe he has something he's going to work on in the second term, that he has another person he can bring up. But it's not just on Trump though. Like, I'm wondering, does the Conservative Party, as far as like the people that are in Congress right now, are they really fully behind Trump's agenda 100% when, as far as moving the country forward all the way, or are they just backing him now because they understand he's very popular and they need to maintain their districts and keep voters? Because you would think that there was some kind of young coalition, just like we criticize the left and they're radical, they're out of control, but at least they're bringing in young people. They're out of control. They don't know what they're doing, but they have some kind of future of young people coming up that want to push their message. And where are the young? I know we have people like Candace Owens, but they're not running for office. Tommy Learn, they're not running for office. They're just political people that spreading the message, and they're fine and good. But where are the people who's going to carry Trump's agenda after Trump? like going forward,
Absolutely.
2024
I
and stuff like
actually.
that.
Oh,
And I'm afraid that I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
oh
I'm
yeah.
afraid that after Trump leaves, will all these Trump supporters that are not conservatives will they run back to because some of them were Democrats? Will they go back to the left because it's not going to be the thing anymore to be a Trump supporter? And Trump is gone after 2024. Will that large number of people disappear and go somewhere else? Like, where's the message moving forward for us, the conservatives, to maintain this? Because a lot of those GOP people, they're not trusted. Like, I don't think they all fully support Trump like they should.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So I'll react to that. Um, there's definitely a lot of Trump supporters who have your concern, whether they are conservative. I think at this point people look at the left, and a lot of the people who came over from the left for Trump, a lot of them are looking at the left now, and they're like, I might have gone back to like an old Democrat, but they're becoming crazy. So in that respect, I
Yeah.
don't think we'll lose the support that we've gained, but we have a huge problem with demographics, and we also have a huge problem. Some problems that you touched on that I want to expand on. We are not like the GOP party. First of all, does not work together as a party the way they should, the way the Democrats do. Um, so they don't really have like a youth outreach program. And there's actually a Twitter handle that I follow who, and she's also on YouTube, but she posts stuff on YouTube like a day after. But her name is Magdalene Rose, and that is a concern that basically she raises over and over again. And she even suggests things. She says this is what GOP people who are in office or whatever, like she suggested that they go to Comic-Con because then the news would cover it that a conservative was at Comic-Con, and people, it might cause some people to start to look at the right. And she said, she's been watching the left, and this is correct. She's been watching the left, and this is what they do. They make a point of getting their hands into pop culture, and they do it in a huge way. And in some ways, I can understand we're not as tied to the pop culture as they are, but we definitely could be more tied to it. I understand, like, in some ways, you don't want the conservative people to become tied to a lot of the, for lack of a better word, degeneracy that's on the left. But you could still have, like, I mean, we have people like Joy Vela who shows up to the Grammys and wears these like pro Trump dresses. Like, we have stuff like that. We don't have enough like funness with our politicians, and I absolutely agree with you on that. I know Matt Gaetz started a podcast, so that's one way in which they're trying to. And this is one of the reasons why I'd actually like to see what's his name? Joey Salads, aka Joey Saladino is his real name. And he is running
Oh
for
yeah.
he's running for the seat in Staten Island. I don't know if you knew that. He's running for
Yeah.
Congress.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen him on. I watched some of his videos over the years, and I followed him. I've seen some of his tweets. Like, he's really like tweeting out now
Um
and stuff like that.
and so I think it would be good for Republicans in New York City, instead of worrying about who's going to take the seat where, trying to get a Republican to get the seat where AOC is. I think that they should either bus us over to Staten Island, or we should carpool, people from Queens should carpool over to Staten Island and hit door knocking and get Joey in office. Because if you want someone to go against AOC, I mean, the whole reason why AOC has the appeal that she has is because she's young and she's fun and she's on social media. So
Yeah.
we would want to counter that rather than try to get her out of an office in a dark blue district. I think, which I don't think you can get her out of office unless you primary her. I do not think you can get a Republican into that seat. And people are all over the country giving money to these 5 people who are running for her seat. In particular,
Yeah. I've seen that too. Yeah.
this Sherry Murray. I I don't think that like she's like actually Democrat or anything like that because I looked I went to her Twitter page.
Yeah, she supported AOC. She was
Well, she
congratulating her and all
did,
and
but
stuff like
here's
that.
another thing. If you go, one of the things I do is to people think like it's hard to like scroll back on somebody's Twitter page, but somebody had pointed out to me at one point you can use the page down button. So like what I'll do is like I went to her Twitter and I literally like laid on the page down button to get to the bottom of her Twitter. The very beginning of her Twitter page in 2013, she started up her Twitter page to run for city council. So then I went and did searches to see what party she ran under. She ran under the Republican Party, and then I also did the page up, um, button press by button press to go back up her Twitter from the bottom. And I found that throughout these years, she's been interacting with people that I know who are strong Republicans in Queens, as well as I think in 2014, I found her interacting with Bart Haggerty, which we don't really like him because he's a rhino, but he's one of the bigwigs in the Queens GOP. So, but a lot of us don't like him because we don't feel like he's Republican enough. But
Yeah.
I mean, clearly she not just him. She's interacting with people that I know who are like strong in the Republican Party and who've run for seats as Republicans and who are active in the Republican clubs. A few other people that I know that are like super active in the Republican clubs. I ran across her interacting with these people. So she's been interacting with the Queen's GOP since 2013 at least. And if she ran for something, probably was active in it before that. Because I mean, if you look at like someone like me, you're not really going to find too much interaction with me even though I'm going to the club events and stuff for I guess for about the past year I've done in-person stuff. I became active I guess when I woke up in spring of 2017, but I was mostly online for like a year. But we definitely across the board the GOP needs to reach out to conservatives as well as come up with plans of action for trying to reach the youth. And one of the things I say is stop sitting there waiting for the actual GOP to do it. If they're not going to do it, the clubs should reach out to youth in their own area and the news organizations. Like I would love to see like these YouTubers, I would love to see them like advertise in urban areas and stuff like that. Like all these bus ads, I would love to see some conservative YouTubers like pool together and take out like a bus ad on the MTA system, or fuel. I don't know how much it would cost if it's feasible, but I know Pamela Geller used to take out bus ads until they banned her. So she's a strong anti-jihadist. So they specifically said she couldn't take out bus ads anymore for her organization in New York City, but she specifically advertised on the buses and in the subways because it was cheaper. It was one of the cheapest places for her to advertise. And so she used to do that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Like to do something like that. And like sometimes I think it's tough. Just like 'cause New York City is like you just gotta take it. Like you said, like get people like Joey Salads, people who already instead of going after like AOC. Because I think, to be honest, I think you leave her there, let her just be a disruption. She's bad.
I mean,
like
she is
like
bad. Um,
like leave her alone. Like let her show the world like why the Dems are out of control. Like you know, it's almost like she's a perfect example. Like to show like there's no way you could let what I'm saying. Like so, if any young person that has a mind of their own. Like, do you really want to follow behind her, or do you want to follow behind people like I guess another person that we could bring up? Maybe that has more of a message. Like
well,
she's too radical.
yeah, and
Like
another
leave
thing
her there.
is, Another thing is the people that are running against her. What I'm seeing is, I see Sherry Murray, and she popped up on the scene, and she was all over my subscriptions. But I'm a political conservative in New York City. Do you really think she popped up on Fox News? She popped up on OANN, which is another conservative network. She popped up
Yeah.
being discussed by a bunch of conservative YouTubers across the country saying, hey, oh, maybe she can unseat AOC. Is she popping up on anything from the left? Is she going into the community? Does she have people door knocking? Is she putting up subway and bus ads in AOC's district? Is she putting up ads in the bus shelters in AOC's district? That's what she needs to be doing. In Spanish and English, she needs to have pamphlets go out and put up ads in that district. Going on Fox News is not going to help her win a district full of people who don't touch Fox News. It's not going to do it. I mean,
Yeah, and those
if
people
that's her
don't. Those people
strategy,
don't
it's
live in over there.
ridiculous.
But
I mean, she may be well known at this point to many conservatives and conservatives in New York City, but and I guess New York Post did an article on her, which they lean conservative and they are kind of centrist, so I could see that potentially Democrats might read that paper without knowing that it like leans a little bit right because it's pretty centrist. So potentially people could have heard about her from there, but for the most part, I would say, what is she doing to reach, a district that votes probably 90% Democrat? What is she doing to reach those people who are not going to be looking at Fox News? What is she doing? And I don't know that she's doing anything for that. I don't know what any of these people are doing. I mean, I don't live in that district. I actually but I live in the next district over. If somebody is really effective, I should be seeing them on my bus. I should be seeing like their ads on my bus or in a bus shelter or whatever. And I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't, like I said, I don't know how much bus ads cost, but this is like a perfect example. If she is really legitimately running, that would be a perfect example. I think she should try to get ads like on, not even on the bus lines that go through her district, maybe the shelters. Because you know how
but
they
do,
put
do you
ads.
think that? Do you think that it's maybe? I think. Do you think it's kind of strange that no one has really reached out to her from the administration? I mean, Trump is from New York. Do you think that maybe he would have had some kind of? I mean, even because New York must have like some kind of team, like a Trump administration, Trump campaign team that I don't know what the laws are as far as like helping down ballot candidates. But I know there's like 5 candidates, so maybe they don't want to overreach to one particular person. Maybe they want to wait and see who comes out of that. But
I mean,
they would think they have a read on who they think could win that district, right? Like,
I think Trump understands that most of New York City is a bit of a lost cause. If he's going to help anyone, I think he should be trying to help turn Staten Island back to Republican, because I
yeah,
think
yeah,
Joey
true.
Salads is the best candidate to win it for the reasons that I stated, that we need that young blood in Congress. But I fear that Nicole Malliotakis is going to win the what you call it,
Primary.
the primary. Exactly. I feel like Nicole's gonna win the primary, but then, and even if she gets in, it'll be great for that district to go back to the Republicans. But I do think that in the long run, it would be better to get Joey Salads on the ticket and then actually have him win the seat. For the simple reason that we need like someone who's like a young blood who knows how to get on. um we need like the I mean, Nicole's not, I think she's younger than me, but he's like a really like young blood, knows how to do social media, and I think that would help overall the party and the country. but it's definitely a concern of a lot of us who are actually talking online. It's a concern of us that the GOP really isn't doing anything to secure the youth vote. And I think what they're thinking is, oh, well, once people get older, they're going to realize how bad the Democrat ideas are and they'll come over. Okay, well, wouldn't it be so much better if we get these people 10, 20 years earlier?
Yeah.
And my reaction to that is, if the GOP itself isn't going to work to do that, all of these organizations, they should actually work to try to get the youth vote. I guess Walkaway is doing that to a large extent. They're going after various identity politics type groups that the left has traditionally gone after, and they're going after them and saying, "Hey, you don't really need to be a Democrat. Why don't you check the conservatives out?"
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
And I think that's
I,
really good, but we need more organizations like that doing that. Go ahead.
I mean, hopefully, something like that happens. I believe that. I just hope that this it's not like some kind of phase. Like it's just the thing to do, because that's the one thing about young people. They'll jump on a bandwagon because it's a hot thing at the moment. But then, soon as something else comes that's more relatable or more hip to them, they'll run over there. And
Right.
that's just my only concern, that you know, hopefully, they take it serious and actually stay. Because what I've noticed, that a lot of people are taking different political positions because it's monetarily beneficial to them. Like, oh, this benefits me financially to be this way or that way. And I've seen that for a few people out there that
Yeah, there's
that uh
definitely
that are
conservative.
pushing the movement. You
Oh,
know,
sorry. I was gonna say there's definitely a lot of like conservative grifters who
I mean,
say,
they're liberal. Same thing on both sides. I mean, it's not.
yeah,
You see it on the left too. Like people are taking these positions, and I noticed this morely with the younger crowd. Like anyone who's really has the voice of the younger people, they're in it because it's monetarily for money. They
right,
don't really believe that message. They're just saying, "Well, I got this crowd. They support me. I'm gonna hold this stand, and I can get them." And that's pretty scary to me too, because if you don't really believe that, then it's not gonna last. Like you can't, I don't,
well that
I don't want it to be,
yeah, that might even be more of a sign of the millennial generation and the Gen X, or not Gen X. I'm Gen X. The Gen Z and the millennial generations who grew up with social media, and they have, there's in general this mindset of like how many followers you have, like little kids, like you hear of like little 9-year olds already like comparing followers and stuff like that. Like I'm on some non-political uh Discord servers for like people who are starting their own channels or who are into doing graphics for channels. And a lot of these people, like, I don't really mention my channel, and then I finally do, and they go and look at my channel, and they're like, "Holy cow, you've got over 1,000 subscribers!" And in the political arena, like, that's not much. But for these little kids who are like, and not little kids, I mean, they're like, I guess some of them are like 9, but a lot of them are like 15, 16, 17 years old. And a lot of their channels have under 500 subscribers. So they think that's a lot. But I've also had my channel for it's going to be, I put out my first video in like 2 or 3 weeks. I hit my 2-year mark from then. So I'm going on 2 years.
wow, 2 years. That's a while.
Yeah, and a lot of people blow up much faster than me. And part of that might be because I don't go on camera, but I mean, another thing is I feel like a lot of my subscribers just don't, they tell me like they love me and stuff, but I don't think that people are really sharing my videos. So a lot of them will
Yeah,
like not even comment on my videos, but they'll DM me and tell me that they love my stuff. And one of, well, I think two of the people that did this, I discovered that they had channels with a low subscriber count. So basically, I think they were telling me they loved me because eventually they were gonna expect me to like help them, and it's like, but if your channel sucks, I'm not gonna refer people to it. Like, you've got to do better.
yeah, that's the thing about social media is like real tricky because people want everyone to. They'll say, "Oh, follow back, follow." Like you can't. That doesn't always work because if your message is different from mine or you do something different, my people may not like you. You know, the people that follow me may not like the stuff you post.
Yeah,
So why
like
would I tell them to go follow you?
yeah,
Unless your message is something that is interesting. Like you can't force people. Yeah, yeah. Every now and then you may be able to get a hit. Like one video will go like if you notice there's people online who they'll have like this one video that gets like a million retweets,
right.
but you look at their page, they only got like a couple followers because people like the specific video that you just posted, but that doesn't mean they like your page. They're not going to follow you.
Right.
So it's kind of tricky. You got to be able to balance. You got to be consistent. You can't
Well,
put out one video thing. Oh, if it goes viral, that means everyone's going to follow me now. No, then nobody know who you are. They just like that one video you posted, that one tweet, and people um they'll try to put underneath. Oh, since you guys like this tweet, follow my page, and no one follows the page. It just was there for the tweet because that one tweet went viral. And you got to be able to be consistent. You got to create stuff. Everyone has their own taste. So that means at some point, if you're consistent enough, and other people will reach other people,
right.
your stuff will get out there, and people will follow you organically. You don't want that fake follower. You want the real people, and real
Right.
people will come at some point.
Well,
It'll
and
take time. It may take a couple of years. It may take a couple of months. But if you're not a known person, of course it's gonna take a while. If you're a known person, yeah, you probably get there faster. But even the known people, if you notice like a Kardashian tweet, she got like I don't know 30, 70 million probably. Her tweets only get maybe 100,000, couple thousands at a time, because not everyone that's following her likes her stuff. They just may be following her because
I mean, I
it's
also,
just an account that's followed.
yeah, I don't think she's really as popular anymore either. Like when the show
Yeah,
was on back, I guess it was like when my niece was like 17, 18 years old. When my niece was a senior in high school, and I started talking to her, and I was looking at her Twitter. Well, no, I was just looking at her Twitter. And
and they
it was all her friends from high school, and everyone was like a huge Kardashian fan. Like I would look at these people's Twitter feeds, and everybody was talking about um the Kardashians. And then when now I don't really see that. Like my niece's Twitter now is all about Taylor Swift. Everything Taylor Swift. And
and plus she not. I bet also part of it is because started working on. She started becoming an adult. She started doing more adult stuff. She grew up, and now she's helping people get out of prison. She's doing stuff. We're working with the Trump administration. People are not gonna like that. A lot of that MTV reality TV crowd. A lot of those people are all liberals. They probably don't like the idea that she's out there reaching out, working
well,
with the
is she still
president,
on TV?
and doing that kind of stuff too.
Is that show even still on? Because that might be part of it. It might just be like the show's not on anymore. And I mean, like my niece has moved on. She and everyone she used to follow, she's
I
gone
don't know if it's
from
still on. I don't know what they have, but
she's
I
gone from
mean,
all her
she's
followers
still out.
being people from her high school, which she's not in high school anymore, to now she follows Swifties, is what they call themselves, Taylor Swift fans. And so, I mean, people who used to like the Kardashians, they've probably moved on. Some of them probably like AOC, some of them probably like, Taylor Swift, some of them probably like stopped really. I think a lot of millennials
But
also
the
have
show is
actually.
still on though.
Oh, it is? But
It,
it's not popular
yeah,
like it
I'm
used to be, right?
probably not, but it's still going. Is I think they're on like I'm looking it up now. It says season 16
Oh, wow.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it
it went
sounds.
from 22 minutes. Now it's a 42-minute show. So it's
Mm,
still going.
yeah. I mean, but I don't really hear people talk about the Kardashians anymore. That's I mean, that's a long ways around. I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean they're not yeah, the 17th season premiere. Well, I don't want to promote the show, but the new season premieres this year, according to this.
so yeah, I mean, part of it may be that I've pulled away even more from pop culture type stuff. Like, I know I used to watch Two Broke Girls, which that's not on anymore, but I believe he
Yeah,
had one of the Kardashians on that show. So I mean,
yeah, I've seen that show a couple of times. I remember in the beginning when it first kind of came out. I mean, it was a kind of funny a little bit. It was a little bit funny.
there's no, it's funny because I think the show only ended maybe 3-4 years ago, within the last 5 years, and you couldn't even now you could not have a show like that anymore. If they
Yeah,
tried to
a lot
have a
of
show like that, it would be like SJW'd off the air, because it would be considered offensive. Like Oleg, the Oleg character on that show, there's no way the feminazis wouldn't be like all over stoking woke Twitter against that show, and
yeah,
you know pulling their games. And I mean, that may even be why it's off the air. One of the things was, I used to also do a lot of commenting on the IMDb message boards. And then one day I noticed they weren't there. And then finally, like a year later, I was like, wait, let me find out what happened to them. And sure enough, what I discovered happened to them was the message boards went against something that was like woke or whatever, which we always did. People were always in the comments, even if they were watching these shows with like these SJW themes to them, you would always see like a backlash in the comments on the message boards about this stuff. People, even stuff that if people would continue to watch it, but they would still be like, I can't stand that they're doing this, this, and this. And they would be like naming off this, like, just SJW bullshit. Before, before like, I knew it was called that, before I think people knew it was called that, or it had that kind of nickname, people were already railing against it. Like, people didn't have a name for it, but people were like, why are they pushing this, this, and this? When Metallica played at the Global Citizen concert, tons of people were on their discussion board saying, why are they getting involved with this sort of thing or this shit? And that was before I had ever heard of the expression SJW, but that's basically what it was. It was like an SJW type event. In order to try to get free tickets to this Global Citizen concert, you had to like tweet at all these like woke organizations and support basically like woke leftist garbage with like your tweets and your social media posts. And they actually, so they made people do that to try to get free tickets to this concert, and then you had to like submit proof. And this just shows that like the left was doing all of this stuff and the right was still kind of going like, what's going on? I mean, now I think we're pretty awake, and I do think we're
yeah,
starting to fight back. But like, they've been putting it down their roots for a long time, since the 60s at least. And like I said, I don't know if I told you this before we were recording or not, but at one point there was the Weather Underground, and they got so big, and this is what the hippie movement was. They were bombing police stations. Like, I think in Chicago they bombed police stations. And I need to do more research and actually do a video on this Weather Underground, because this is crazy. Like, I know Justin Trouble did a video where he talked about this. But anyway, this video is getting really long. Why don't you go ahead and give us your clothing thoughts, closing thoughts, and maybe some clothing thoughts too.
All right. Well, I just hope that everyone out there just be careful, like, because the left is definitely want to silence anyone who has a different thought, that thinks differently from them, or doesn't agree with any of their policies or the way they go about things. And it's getting real dangerous, so you have to be careful and just be cautious on when you're on social media, and how do you just go about your life. Like, and I also encourage people, like, I know I haven't done this because I know I'm not going by my own words, but I wish more people, if you're not afraid, don't be afraid to come out and express your conservative values, or you being a Trump supporter, because at least it will encourage other people who may want to be, that want to hide, they may want to come out too. And even though I don't really show my face either. Even though I did post a video, my Twitter actually had my face, and I was wearing a Trump hat, and so I started to, like, and I got my Trump hat, so I'm gonna start wearing it more, and I'm gonna try to be out there more in New York to spread the 2020 message and let people know that I'm not scared to, because I think they want you to be quiet. That's
Oh,
what that whole piece was about on the Daily Beast. They wanted me to go back in my hole, I guess. Don't come out unless you're gonna be on our side. And after thinking about that, I realized I'm not gonna let them stop me from, supporting who I want. And I hope everyone just does the same thing. And I appreciate everybody who gave me messages and told me, encouraged me to not back down and stuff like that. And I just hope that moving forward, I'm able to, help everyone else, like, far as spread the conservative message, or, the anti-liberal message, I would say, because it's not all about just conservative. You got some people that are in the middle that hate liberal policies too. So it's a fight against everybody that's not liberal, basically.
Right, the anti-SJW team,
Yeah.
which includes actual liberals. I think if that's one thing, if the Democrats don't fight back against the anti-SJWs, that's one thing that we will indeed probably pick up a lot of their people. But I think because that's why they're bringing the illegals in, because I believe they let them vote. So one of the things I think that the Republicans need to do is, I won't say to advise illegals to vote, but maybe in Hispanic areas we should put our ads, or our flyers should go out in both languages, because I'm sure the
Yeah.
Democrat stuff is, the materials are going out in both languages, and I definitely think Republicans need to do that too.
Yeah, they're giving a driver's license to the ones here in New York.
Yep. I'm
What's going to happen after that? Unless the driver's license is going to say illegal on it, they're going to be able to go right to and register to vote because they have an official state ID.
and
Or
that's the thing
get an
is,
address.
it's
It's
illegal
easy.
to vote, but the way it's set up, you can register to vote by mail. You don't
Yeah.
have to, like, you know, I think you should have to show, personally, I think you should have to, like, show, register to vote in person, and, like, show proof of citizenship or whatever. And then,
Yeah, your birth certificate. Yeah.
exactly, or your social security card. But I think even illegals are starting to have that stuff. But basically, like, show, like, proof of, these things. And then I don't think we need, like, a photo ID for voting specifically. People should be able to use, like, their state issued ID that they use for everything else. um yeah, one of the arguments that the left always uses is like, oh, well, people don't have ID. Are you kidding me? Like, I know, like, there isn't a. I've heard people say there's no law that you have to have ID versus there is a law that you have to have ID. But the fact is, how can you function in society if you don't have ID?
Well,
Even if it's not
most black,
illegal to not have it, which I've heard, I had cops stop me one time and ask to see my ID, which is one of the reasons why for a long time, when I was like young and thin and hot, I actually purposely put a post office box on my ID because I started to get afraid. I had like bouncers asking me for my ID and stuff. I started to get afraid that like people would pretend to be cops, ask to see my ID, and then like memorize my address and show up and stalk me. So I had a post office box put on my ID. And then eventually when I got like where I'm like now I'm a middle-aged woman and I'm overweight. So like I'm not really worried about that anymore.
that
But
doesn't stop stalkers though.
I mean,
I think the stalkers is more like it's a sick thing. Like they have
right,
their own
right. But
kind of
I
when they
don't I
stuck
don't
onto
get
you, you know.
yeah, I don't get I used to have men ask for my ID all the time, saying that they were like cops or bouncers and this and that. And also I used to go out clubbing and stuff. Now I don't even really like go out and about. Like I'm not out riding the train all the time and going places. Like I pretty much go where I go and that's it. And I take buses almost everywhere. So I don't think anybody's asked to see my ID other than like to buy something that you need to buy ID for, but not like before. Like I remember there was one time I was just walking through the train and some guys claimed to be cops. Never showed me their badge, but they claimed to be undercover cops and like demanded to see my ID. You know, I was at a nightclub when I was like 22, 23 years old. I think this is the first time something like this happened. And like all of a sudden there was like five large men on me who were like, "Let me see your ID, let me see your ID." And then eventually they told me later like they were bouncers and they thought that I was too young to be there. Like that they
Wow.
thought maybe I had snuck in through the kitchen. I've always looked very, very young. Until now. Now I finally look pretty old, but um I always looked really, really young. But they never said, like, excuse me, like, we're with security with you, with the bar. Um, you look like you might be too young. Can we please check your ID again? I know this might be a hassle, but I'm sure you know that you look young if you're not underage. But instead, they, like, and they still could have had five people surround me and do it tactfully like that, but they had like five men who literally like surrounded me. I was very scared because I didn't know who these guys were. They weren't wearing anything that said like security or with like the location's logo. And they just, like I said, I'm sitting down and in a booth in the eating area, and they literally surrounded me to where like I couldn't have even stood up, and they were just like, "Show me your ID." Very, very scary. So
Wow.
that's one of the reasons why I wouldn't wear a Trump hat, but I would like to form groups and go out. Not even necessarily be all about Trump, but even just to talk about like what the communists are doing.
Yeah.
People need to know about this stuff, and they really don't know what's going on. Just like, hey, do you know what's going on in our government? Hey, let me point you to some places where you can learn more. Point them to conservative sources. That's what I would like to do. I would go out and just educate people without actually talking about Trump. Just educate people on like the scary things that are going on in our society underground.
Yeah, that's something I would like to do something like that too. Like
See,
I'm not. I like to join. I would like to be part of something because me, I'm not a big speaker or I'm not. But I like to sit there and listen and exchange opinions and stuff like that. And be able to share and learn stuff. Because I like to learn things. You know, I'm more of a sit back and learn stuff and then do my own research and try to compare notes and stuff like that.
All right. So maybe we'll coordinate off air on some of these events. I'm finding other conservatives, and I think I might have enough people to plan some sort of event like this at this point. So that'll be great. All right. I know I said this before, but final thoughts again.
Just just everyone just be careful and keep the fight up against the liberals.
Yeah, and
That's all I got.
don't give your phone number to social media outlets unless you if you can avoid it. I absolutely try really
Yeah.
hard to avoid that. All right, I'm gonna run the outro, and there we go.
Oh, well, people need to be awake and they need to be awake and they need to be aware. They need to stand up against the stuff. Oh, well, people need to be awake.
Thanks for stopping by.
People need to be awake and they need to be aware. They need to stand up against the stuff. Oh, well.
And it's so politically engaged. And it's so politically engaged.